Hi, friends. This is Caitlin. There we go. Welcome to our live with Pink and Mean tonight. I have some fun stuff planned. We're going to be um, combining ink blending. Well, we're going to ink blend through a stencil, but it's going to be for embossing purposes. So we're going to do heat embossing, some stenciling, some Copic coloring, and we're going to use a ton of new products. So I'm super excited to share with you. I apologize now if I'm a little flustered. I had some technical difficulties. I promise I will get it together before Thursday. So yeah, let's just go ahead and jump right in. Nothing helps soothe my mind like making a card. So I have everything gathered, but unlike sometimes when I'm making two cards, I will prep everything ahead of time. I did not do that this time. So we will prep and truly make a card start to finish together tonight, just to change it up. So, all right, first things first, so I can start getting some stuff out of the way. I have my Pink and Main Warm Basics. I love this pattern paper pad. You can see I've kind of shredded it into pieces already. I see Virginia, Mary, Maria, Julianne. Julianne said, I'm here on time. I really appreciate you guys jumping in. I love seeing the comments and everybody checking in. So thank you for that. I have two of the same pattern paper pieces from my Warm Basics. I'm going to go with this one. I love it because it has kind of a yarn knit pattern to it. And we are going to be pairing it up with the new Pawsome Friend stamp set, which is this really adorable, super long and lanky cat. So this is going to be the main kind of feature. It's going to go on pattern paper, and we are also going to be adding in some die cutting. So I have here the new paw print dies. So we're going to cut this big paw print, and that's going to be kind of a base for our cat to go on top of. So my thought was the base and the paw print will be out of the pattern paper. And then for in between, a middle panel, we're going to make our own pattern paper with this paw print stencil, and we're going to heat emboss with it just to change it up with my Pebble cardstock, because if you've watched any of my other lives, you know I love some Pebble cardstock. So, hey Kendra, I'm excited to see you checking in. I think this is going to be a fun one, just because we're going to get to, like I said, do the whole thing together, start to finish, but also because we are going to get to combine so many different techniques into one card. So let me start by trimming down my Pebble cardstock. So 5.5 by 4.25, but I'm gonna go ahead and trim that down now. We'll do a 1/2 inch off each. So 3 3/4 by 5. And I just saved these for sentiments down the road. So don't worry that they're not being properly loved or utilized. They are. I just like having my other like panels cut to the correct size already. So I still cut them and then just trim off the extra. Let's trim one of these guys down. I like to cut my 4 1/4 side first so I get a nice chunky scrap. And then half. So those are our first two layers. And this one we are going to use our new die. There's two new dies out with this release if you haven't seen them. I happen to have them back to back. So we have this one, which is really fun. This is the Making Waves cover die. So you can see all that detail. Maybe we'll use that on Thursday. And then the very simple paw print. And you can see these are inside, but they're not attached That's just to make sure that everything stays in place. So you get a small paw print, a big paw print, and then two different sized hearts. So I'm going to just go ahead and trim this down a little bit. Set that to the side. That's extra. Okay, that over there. So let's just go ahead and start get our card base together. And I think this will be a really cute set to stamp inside the card. For a while, I was doing really good stamping inside my cards, and I've kind of gotten away from it. So I think let's go ahead and stamp inside the card now. And for anybody, a couple weeks ago, I mentioned that I lost my Night Sky ink, but I found it. So since we're using that purple, let's go ahead and we'll stamp inside our card base. I already know we're going, what is that, portrait this time. So I want to stamp the wishing you a perfect day and the little mouse on the inside. Because the outside we're going to do to a possum friend. And you know what? I think we'll do the little mouse like right on top. That'll be cute. Right like that. Let's see if that's straight. Yeah, that's pretty good. Misty lets us get our panel back into position. We're going to go in with our Night Sky, and I'm not pressing down hard. I'm just kind of running my fingers over the stamps, giving that a minute to transfer. Perfect. There is a little inside image. I'm just going to blot off. I don't have my chamois ready. So we'll just blot off the extra ink. I also played around with making a custom pattern paper with the paw print and the mouse on Pebble cardstock with just the embossing ink and leaving it plain. Let's see, I think I have that card right here. There we go. So the mouse I did in gray, but you can see the paw prints are just with that embossing watermark. Basically, I watermarked it. So if you stamp that and let it dry, you get this like really soft kind of tone on tone. But I want this to be just a little more bold. So that's why we are going to do our heat embossing. It'll give us a little bit of that raised texture. It'll kind of make it pop a little more. That's right on the edge. Just going to swipe that off with my finger before my card glues itself shut. We're going to go in with our full panel first. Make sure that is nice and lined up. Oh, Julianne said if you put a little bit of embossing powder or like probably anti-static powder on your fingertips, it'll help them to not, your stamps to not stick to your fingers. I think that's a great idea. I'll go let that dry and go back in with the adhesive eraser for that in a minute. All right, so now we're going to go to our stencil, and I'm going to grab a piece of printer paper just to be on the safe side to make sure I'm not getting stuff all over my desk. I'm going to grab a little bit of lowish tack tape. I'm sticking it to my pants first because my low tack tape is still, for me, a little bit tacky. Holds pretty well. See, and I'm going to just place that center-ish. Okay. I'm going to take my embossing powder. Please don't judge my powder or my embossing ink from the like stuff that's on it. I promise. You know what? That was a mistake. Okay. We're gonna hinge. We're gonna leave that part in place. What I should have done is treated this with anti-static powder, like Julianne said. So because I like barely touched, think I'm going to be okay. But I also have it hinged so that it'll be easy to line up those couple little spots. So I'm going to go in with my Magic anti-static powder tool, my brush, and just give that a real good swoop all the way around. And that's just going to make sure that our embossing powder only sticks where we want it to stick. Okay. There we go, right back into place. All right, so now I'm going to take my embossing powder, embossing ink, and I am just pouncing this directly onto my stencil. As it saturates the paper, I can see kind of where it's a little splotchy and where it looks nice and smooth. I think you could probably also do this with some kind of like inking tool, but I found that this is fine. You definitely get ink all over your stencil, but I'm not super concerned. And if you haven't gotten a lot of ink pads or refills from Pink and Me before, they do have a re-inker for the embossing ink as well as all of the other inks. All right, so we're going to work somewhat quickly. There we go. Need to peel that off and that off. That's why I should have stuck it to my pants some extra time, but that's okay. Today is the day of we're just going to make it work, guys. I think that's part of the fun and the cool thing about doing these lives is there's no editing, right? It's just, this is just real life. We're just making a card and it doesn't always go great and things aren't always like on YouTube and I can't just edit out my bloopers and that's okay. All right, so you can see I have a really nice coat of that clear embossing powder all over. I'm going to add just an extra touch there and there. There we go, looks better. I like to work over printer paper so that I can easily just funnel that right back in. I'm going to heat up my heat gun for a second. I apologize if that's loud behind me. I'm going to finger this and I'm going to mute myself for a second while I bring that heat gun over to do it. And there we go. So now we have these are really fun, slightly 3D glossy paw prints. Hey, Susan. And I'm just going to kind of wiggle my paper a little back into a flat shape while the paper is still a little warm. It's got embossing ink on it. Set that aside. All right, so we have our card panel. We have our secondary layer, which I'm going to glue flat because I want to pop my paw print and the cat up both with foam tape, but only to be one layer. So we might have to do some tricky foam tape trimming in order for that to work, but we're gonna make it work. We're gonna figure it out. Giving it a good squish. Yeah, Susan. Susan said, "Is that me?" She said hi to. It is. I see you. All right, so there is our cool first layer. So then my thought is that the die cuts are going to go there, and our cat is going to go like that. But see, then the problem is where maybe our sentiment goes inside and our cat stands like on top of it a little. Yeah, that's cute. Let's do that. Let's do that. Oh, Susan, I'm glad that that made you happy. We're still a growing community for our lives. So it's pretty easy at this stage for me to actually be able to like check in with everybody as people are leaving comments and stuff, which I love. It's not hard to share my attention. There's not a bajillion people, which is nice because sometimes we get to do like votes on stuff too. I love hearing your opinion on stuff. Okay, so what I want to do, I was going to do it with my die, but that doesn't make sense for popping it up. I'm going to use the negative of my die cuts to lay out where my actual dies are going to go. So that way you know that it's laid out really nicely and that my um, paw print looks like a real paw print. So, you know, we're pulling out my trusty foam tape. Oh, thank you, Susan, for the support. I appreciate all the thumbs up and the subscriptions and all the love. That makes me happy, and it helps the algorithms for Facebook and YouTube to send our videos out to other people that might like them and enjoy our type of card making. All right, so I'm adding a good bit of foam tape. This is the wrong move. That's what I mean, guys. I'm going out of order. The good news is you can just stick that tape right back on. Is it finally getting smaller, Kendra? Kendra thinks the foam tape is finally getting smaller. It's still bigger than my head though, but at least it now actually fits on the screen. So I guess that makes sense. Before I remove that foam tape, I'm going to place my die cut piece. You know what? We'll use, do it upside down. We'll use this little corner to try to get it in there straight. Yeah, that's good enough. because I want to stamp my sentiment on there, or try. I'm hoping that like this really good black ink is going to be bold enough to be legible. That's not going to work either. That foam tape was not a good idea. Today is a lesson in troubleshooting. So I'm adding some washi tape to the back of my die cut over top of the foam, and I'm basically taping that into my MISTI. And that will work for a minute so that I can get this sentiment taken care of. And at least I have that outline still there to help kind of guide me. We're going to go asphalt ink. Too bad. It's going to be a little hard to get it super smooth because of that foam tape. So if we have to give it some really extra squishes, then that's what we'll do because it'll be worth it. Okay. See, crisis averted. To a possum friend. Still super adorable. I'm going to put that to the side for a second to dry though, before I adhere that part down, and we'll jump up to the little like fingerprint parts because those premium dye inks are no joke. There's a lot of ink on there, I promise. For me doing like 3 layers like that, there's a lot of ink. So if I started with that right now, it might smudge. So to avoid that, I'm just going to hop over to our paw print instead. Go. Just like a little puzzle, popping them into place. I'm having an issue with my overhead mount today, guys. That's what kind of has thrown me off a little bit. I'm going to have to figure something out by Thursday because I'm not sure that how I have it rigged right now is going to work for more than just today. And I'm super bummed because the part that's not working is just like one little part that actually holds the camera. The rest of the arm is like totally fine. So I don't want to have to get a whole new one. My husband also said he would look around the garage to see if he does anybody else have family or a significant other who is like a little tinker and will like just try to fix whatever. That's not me. So I'm lucky to have him. I mean, I say that, but I am over here tinkering my way through this card, that's for sure. All right, so there are our little paw prints. And you just lift that right up. We'll kind of set it, not all the way in because I don't want it to get stuck. Now we'll take off this backing tape for real this time. And honestly, if you were not in the mood to Copic color or did whatever kind of color, you, sorry, you could have just put this centered on this background and be done. Right? Having that like right in the middle, that would be enough to just call it a day right there. Oh, 3D printer? That's what I need, Susan. That's definitely what should be on my list. All right, let's pop that back into my packaging. Oh, I see Shani checking in, or Shani. Okay, get some of this stuff out of the way. Maybe that'll help. All right. We don't have to color, but because it's me, I'm going to color. The only thing that can calm me more than card making is specifically coloring. So I'm going to grab some Copic Express It paper. This is my all-time favorite coloring paper. I'm going to flip them upside down just because this end of my scrap is a little bigger. Let's get that dog hair out of here. Give that a good smush. And I normally stamp these out ahead of time. So we're going to have to be very mindful while I am coloring because, like I said, this ink is very juicy. And from not letting it dry, I should have stamped it a couple minutes ago so it could have sat. But maybe we'll make it a little black cat and then it'll be fine. Works for me. All right. With how I have this rigged, I can't zoom in. So I'm just going to kind of talk you through what I'm doing, hopefully a little more than normal. And it's going to be okay. All right. Let's go in with some neutral grays. We're going to go N8, N6, N4. And it's got a big old head, so maybe some N2. We're going to make a little black cat. So I'm starting out with my N8. These skinny mini legs are just going to get filled in because I definitely don't have the time, ability, or patience to add any sort of shading to these tiny little legs. I'm going in with the absolute lightest touch possible, teeny tiny little strokes to just fill that in. I'm going to do the base of the tail. I'm going to do the bottom and insides of the feet. Okay, we're going to do under the head. We're going to do the outside of the face. Not even really the outside, the upper outside, because this is such a dark marker. I think it might need to be re-inked because that is the theme of tonight. We'll do a tiny little bit under that muzzle, just because. So now I'm going to switch to N6. Blend out that middle part of the foot. Start pulling down that color through the body, through the tail. And the trick with trying to make an image or a critter gray or like black is that you can't just color the whole thing in with like the black 100 or an N9, N6, N8. It'll be way too much. And you'll lose all of the detail and character of your critter. It'll lose all of its personality. But if you make sure that those super dark colors are present when you come in with your lighter markers, it'll still read as black and not gray. So with something like this, I am using probably a little less black than I need but I'd rather have to go back in and add a little bit than trying to salvage something that just has way too much darkness. I'm leaving a tiny little spot for highlight in the center of the face, on the very top of the feet, on that muzzle. I think we're going to make the muzzle like a white and the belly white. So I'm going to go now with N2. And I like to keep that lightest shade over the eyes. We'll add just a hint of that kind of under the head. Fill in tail. I'm also going to add just a little bit to the bottom of the inside of the ear, because I like sometimes when I don't just, it's not just one solid shade of pink. I can try, Julianne, I have my camera like taped. Oh, there we go. All right, sorry about that. I have it taped to the mount right now, and the tape is going right over the zoom button, but that works. So I'm shading in the cheeks, the ears, we'll give him a little pink nose. And I think I'm going to bring in N0 just to blend out the belly and the muzzle a little bit. And I also want to go in with a tiny jelly roll white pen to add to the eyes, the nose, and I like to give like a couple little extra dots around those whiskers. So now looking at how this has dried back, this black line on the edge just looks a little harsh to me. So we're going to go back in one more time with the N6. So that was my second darkest shade. I don't need any more N8. N6, and then that N4 again. And sometimes just layering up those medium shades a second time just gets you a little bit of a more smooth transition, because the paper is already saturated. So it allows those inks to interact with each other a little more nicely. So I like that already so much better. So you can see from the back, that's how saturated the paper is. So I'm nervous to go in a third layer. So we're going to call that good. So yeah, this is our sweet little cat. Love him. Let me get, these do come with coordinating dies. And the die is great because it cuts out the space in between the legs and the tail. Yes, Jelly Roll pens do come, I believe, in different shades other than white. I know I have like a glitter. It's a Jelly Roll brand. It's like a metallic gold. And I'm pretty sure they come in like all the colors. All right, so let's get our little cat lined up. There's also a dog version of this stamp that just came out with the new release as well. A Rough Day stamp set. And it's like a tall, lanky puppy. So cute. I just love the style. Pink and Mane also has a reindeer that's this style, and I don't have it, but now I kind of want it. Okay, so pop him out. Look how perfect. Isn't it so stinking cute? Oh, I've never tried Uniball. I'm gonna have to look into that. Scrap Mania is here. That's so exciting. So for ease of use, let me grab my cat. I left it in the Misty. We're gonna stick it right back on there. I'm gonna put my backing in place. I like to keep my stamp in the front and then make sure my die is really stuck on there. And I just keep my dies right in the back so that I have everything all in one place. We have our card base. Oh yeah, that's so cute with his big old head. So we're only really going to need foam behind the head because the rest of the body is going to be on top of that, the paw prints. I'm not even going to worry about the ears at this point. All right, I'm just going to try to get an idea of what parts are going to be touching. So kind of this middle part of the leg and definitely the feet, a little on the bottom of the tail. So we're going to add liquid glue to the feet, the left leg, bottom of the tail. And I'm going to add a touch of liquid glue to my foam from the easy squeeze. That's just going to give me more time. So I want his feet kind of right above my sentiment. Press that down, press that down. Oh my gosh, I just think that's so cute. Can we zoom out? There we go, we got a little bit. So that is our die cut, heat embossed, stenciled, Copic colored, foam taped, all the things card. Color some of the images from the card kit. So I don't actually have the card kit, but Kendra at Cards by Kendra, she's in the comments if you're, Shani, if you're watching, or Shani, if you're watching from YouTube, she does review and like overview of the card kits. So definitely make sure that you click on her like profile and then you can see her videos because she's been doing a lot of stuff with the card kits. They're beautiful. But as a regular part of the design team, I don't actually get the card kits. I will put in a word to Michelle, though, that you would like to see those as part of our lives. We can see what we can do. So that is our card. Not too bad for a true start to finish. I love the inside. To a Pawsome Friend, wishing you a perfect day. So cute. So thank you all for sticking this out with me. I appreciate all of your kindness and support. Even if you are just watching and not commenting, I can feel your support. It kept me pushing through what could have been a very disastrous / crazy card. But now looking at it finished, you never know. So I hope this keeps you inspired and reminds you to not give up on wherever you are in your card journey, wherever you are in your specific card you might be working on. If your project starts to go awry, don't give up, but also just remember it's just paper. So it's all meant to be fun. I am so glad that you guys came to hang out with me. I really do appreciate you. I promise I'll get it together for Thursday. I'll be back here Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And maybe, like I said, we'll use that other die, that background die, the cover plate. It'll be really fun. So I will see you guys on Thursday. I hope you have a great day tomorrow. And until then, guys, happy crafting.